Are you the quantum mechanics?
Yes, we are the quantum mechanics.
Also known as the Justified Ancients of Woo-Woo.
If you're interested in the paranormal and the high strangeness, we're the podcast for you.
Whether you're a believer, a doubter, or somewhere in between.
I'm Ben.
And I'm Peter.
And we are the Quantum Mechanics.
Let him who hath understanding reckon the number of the beast, for it is a human number. Its number is 666.
Little bit of a clue there. Ben.
Well, that's nothing if not incredibly ominous.
Yeah, I thought you've probably got an idea what we're going to be talking about today from that little intro. I want to talk about the number 666. What does it really mean? Who does it refer to? Why is it avoided? And sometimes deliberately used, Ben.
Do you know, it's one of those, I think because it is such a trope, I literally have no idea where it comes from. I guess it's biblical.
It is. Revelations.
Revelations. Okay. Well, I am sitting here ready to learn. I'm on page 1 of my exercise book, and I have a clean sheet.
You sure you're not on page 666? I'm also going to go into why do even those without religious faith fear it. We're going to cover all that today, and we've got some great stories as well. So it's going to be a good one. We all know what the number of the beast is, don't we, Ben?
666.
Well, what if I was to tell you it might not be 666? That originally the number of the beast might have been 616.
616.
Oh, the door is spookily just blown open. Hold on, I'll close it.
It's all right.
Well, I don't know if that indicates the fact that when I said 616, the door blew open. Is that a sign that that really is the number of the beast?
That was a bit, well, it's either that or one of the dogs trying to get in.
Yeah,
no, there wasn't a dog there. So.
Well, that's a different kind of beast. In some early manuscripts of the Book of Revelations, the number 616 appears rather than 666 that we're all familiar with now. In fact, one of the earliest fragments referring to the beast, the Oxyrhynchus papaya, dated around CE 300, has the number as 616, not 666. Now, there are different theories as to why that might be the case. I mean, you almost think, oh, God, it must have been a typo at some point, right? Either the 616 or the 666. But, you know, so somebody scribed it in error. But the numbers don't look alike written in Greek, so it's very unlikely. Though, of course, it's a popular theory that this is an error. Many scholars believe the use of the two numbers, 666 and 616, was intentional, or at least not an error. According to Dr. Glenn Andrew Peoples, who writes on theology and philosophy, it could well be intentional or even a joke.
Oh, just messing with us.
Yeah. It's very unlikely to have, they basically say, it's very unlikely to have been a simple scribal or copying error. The numbers 666 and 616 don't look very much alike in Greek, whether written as words or numerals. There's a consensus among New Testament scholars that the use of two different numbers was intentional. What reason could anyone have for the change? He says, consider this. In the first century, both in Hebrew and Greek-speaking world in the Roman Empire, it was common practice to, either as a game, a joke, or a literary device, to make use of numerical values for letters. Consider that in Hebrew, Nero Caesar, the Roman emperor who persecuted the church in the first century, is Neron Caesar, and that the numerical value of the name, based on the value of Hebrew letters, is 666, right? So that could be an intentional joke. Now consider the fact, he says, that the Nero's title, Nero Caesar, in its Latin pronunciation, when translated into Hebrew, has a numerical value of 616.
This is interesting.
So as the Book of Revelations began to be circulated beyond its first largely Jewish audience and moved into a more Latin or Greek setting, this numerical device had to be updated so it might be understood by the new readers. What all of this can be taken to suggest is that the copyists were so sure that the beast was in fact reference to Nero Caesar that they were quite comfortable simply inserting another number like 666 that represented Nero's name, as did the number 616.
So it's kind of political satire
Yes,
in a way.
yes. Ben, what could have also amplified the idea that it was Nero who the number and prophecy related to, apart from his religious persecution of Christians, is connected to Nero's death. After his death in 68 AD, rumours spread that Nero had not died, but fled to Parthia to raise an army to return and continue his tyrannical rule, indicating that the beast, Nero 666 or 616, would return.
Okay. So there's kind of. Do you think they were also maybe laying a bit of an Easter egg for us now in kind of helping us understand what people thought of these people? It would kind of make sense to kind of embed it in the code, so I suppose you don't get persecuted. You can kind of make up an excuse as to why it wasn't there, but leaving a trail for future people.
Yeah, a hidden reference to Nero rather than something specific, which is interesting because I'd never come across that idea that it was actually about Caesar. So Nero, I find that fascinating.
So this idea that it's kind of marked on your body is almost like...
I think that is I guess it's all down to interpretation. I think that's become more of a cinematic trope than anything else. Right.
Okay. But I suppose if I was going to suggest that it was like almost you were only a citizen if you followed this individual, and you maybe as a sign of your deference to this person, the joke is, you'd mark their name on your skin. Yeah. But that makes
so really, really satirical in that sense. Yeah. So yes, there are conflicting views of whether Nero was who the number relates to, and depending on a historian's point of view, the text referring to the number of the beast was either written long before the rule of Nero, so unless it was a prediction, he could not be the beast, or it was many years after his death, which could be, like you said, almost as a satirical propaganda in a way. There were only a few scholars believe it was written during Nero's lifetime. So it's still a bit of a mystery. I guess with all these things, it's down to interpretation and ideas. But there is a strong possibility that it was about Nero. So it's possible the number of the beast was actually 616 or 666 or both, basically. And potentially it wasn't the devil or the son of the devil. It was being referred to as Emperor Nero. Now, there are some weird mathematical facts about the number 666. It's a perfect triangular number, Ben. If you were building a structure out of bricks, and the first row has 1 brick, and the second row has 2, and the third row has 3 bricks, if you continue the process to 36 steps, not only do you get a triangle, but it will have 666 bricks in it.
Oh, interesting.
Now, this sounds a little spooky, but obviously there are a lot of triangular numbers. It's just 666. We've got a specific interest in it as a Westerner in that sense. What is unique about the number is if you add up the sum of the numbers on a roulette wheel, it comes to 666.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So if anyone tells you gambling is the work of the devil, in terms of roulette, they are at least mathematically correct.
Now, the people that did that must have obviously realised this as well. Well, I mean, surely you would do a because these things are calculated quite finely, I would have thought.
It gives an air of danger to it, I guess, doesn't it, in a way, or rebellion about it, in a way.
Yeah, it seems to be a built-in nod and a wink in a way as well.
Yeah, maybe. Well, another weird coincidence involving the number 666 connects to Roman numerals. If you write the number 666 in Roman numerals, it is DCLXVI. Now, it contains all the Roman numerals in descending order that are under 500. So, D500, you get what I mean. So, but they do go in descending order. So that kind of pyramid theory does kind of connect with it. I mean, it uses all but one of the Roman numerals, M, which equals 1,000. But if you include that, it still gives you 1,666.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah. Now, the number does make a second appearance in the Bible, technically another 2, actually, in relation to Solomon. 666 is the value of the gold Solomon received in 1 year. Now, most scholars believe this is just a coincidence, though others believe it is a warning about wealth and greed, that they chose that number for that reason.
Ah, yes. Okay.
I've mentioned on the podcast before, Ben, the association in Japan, parts of China and other countries around the number 4 and death.
Yes.
So many hospitals and hotels avoid numbering rooms with 414 or 404. I think there are also some like tower blocks that don't use a 4th floor. They just skip from 3 to 6. Well, if you think about it, you can imagine the same is true for the number 666 in Christianized countries as well.
Yes.
Now, there is one hotel that has had spooky goings on in rooms associated with both the number 4 and the number 666. It is the Congress Plaza Hotel in Chicago. It opened in 1893 to coincide with the city's World Columbian Exposition, also known as the Chicago World Fair. Now, this hotel, Ben, has a rich haunted history, and of course, you can imagine it now hosts ghost tours. They do a raving business in that. According to James Sutton of thehauntedplaces.com, the location's hauntings include its most infamous apparition is none other than renowned mobster Al Capone, who is said to have ran his headquarters in the hotel. It's rumoured that Capone, also known as Scarface, used the hotel's corridors to smuggle drugs and firearms. However, the hotel refute that claim. I guess you would. They deny that any crimes were committed by Scarface in the hotel.
You probably wouldn't want to do that from 666 either.
No. Nevertheless,
obvious.
A ghostly burly man in a suit resembling Al Capone has been spotted at night strolling along the corridors on the 8th floor of the North Tower, where he previously lived. Another spirit that haunts the hotel is Peg-Leg Johnny. What a great name for a Peg-Leg Johnny. Can you guess he only had one leg?
Yeah, and was a pirate.
Yeah, well, actually, he was a vagrant rather than a pirate.
Oh, okay.
He was savagely murdered in the alley. That's 520 South Michigan Avenue, if anyone's interested, behind the hotel. Some say he was tricked into a room on the 7th floor and killed. Many say the forlorn ghost of Johnny now wanders around Congress Plaza Hotel. He is known to appear in rooms and turn off lights.
An energy-efficient single pedestrian.
He's basically a middle-aged man. Do we really need that light on in here?
The only ghost sponsored by Octopus Energy.
Yeah. At the Florentine Room, music can be heard from behind locked doors by security guards patrolling the area in the small hours of the morning. That would freak you out, wouldn't it?
It would. I love some ghostly music, though.
Yeah, a bit like that music box we had when we did the prison. Elegant piano in the room is also known to play by itself, while the lighting can be seen turning on and off by itself. Again, it's probably the guy going, why do we have to have all these lights on? The Gold Room, the most impressive room of all, is said to be haunted by ghosts of brides and grooms. Multiple, apparently.
Okay.
Some have reported seeing a bride and groom standing by the 2nd floor balcony. This one's a good image. While others have said that a spectral couple can be seen dancing in the middle of the ballroom. That would be weird, wouldn't it? Especially if
that's very
music.
cinematic.
Yeah, really. It's a bit Shining-like, isn't it?
It is.
Rumours also spread that members of wedding parties hosting events in the ballroom have had issues with their photographs, that guests have been blocked by quote-unquote paranormal entities and do not appear in photos.
Oh, that's interesting. That's one of my other fascinations. So that idea of something jumping in front of the lens, because that comes through in some cultures where it's not exactly the same, but they say if you take a photograph of someone and they're missing their head, they're about to die. Yeah, that's the relationship between photography and the dead is very, very peculiar. But I really like this idea that because you're sort of talking about things that are centered around those numbered rooms in a hotel, and I wonder whether there's a bit of sort of determinism around it, whether it's either manifested or people just imagine it more. Because I mean, if you're handed the keys to room 666, I mean, I'm not superstitious, but I'd probably think twice, and I might go, look, you haven't got one next door, have you?
Well, it's interesting you say that, because the ghosts I've just talked about are kind of, they're across the whole hotel, so they have been seen in multiple places.
I see.
But there is some weirdness connected to rooms with spookily relevant numbers. In this hotel's case, room 441 and room 666. So let's start with 441. This is said to be the most haunted room in the Congress Plaza Hotel. It's on the South Tower. While it's unknown who are the spirits that linger in room 441, or if any deaths have actually occurred, many have spent the night in it, have deemed it to be the most haunted room in Illinois. In fact, room 441 is responsible for more calls to the front desk than any other room in the hotel. Guests have reported seeing objects moving, doors opening and closing at will. A translucent figure of a woman was also spotted roaming the room at night and shaking guests awake. We've had a few stories of that, haven't we?
Yeah.
It is also said that Stephen King previously spent a few nights at room 441, and that the short horror story 1408, which is about a haunted room, was inspired by it. This claim was, however, widely debated among local researchers, as Stephen King has never mentioned Congress Plaza Hotel or room 441 in his introduction about 1408.
No, and as Stephen King, he's talked about sort of being inspired by nightmares and things like that. As far as I know, he doesn't claim to have ever experienced anything paranormal, as far as I know.
Yeah. Well, historian Adam Selzer believes that it was a fellow Chicago historian and author, Ursula Belsky, who made up the conclusion, because it, quote unquote, he said, it makes a good story. But it doesn't feel it's true. So even though the Stephen King story of room 441 looks like it's been exaggerated, as you can imagine, Ben, it's become a popular booking for paranormal investigators.
Certainly, yeah.
So much so, Ben, the hotel now doesn't offer it to standard guests. You can only book the room as a ghost hunter, and you have to book it way in advance.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice. Oh, I bet they do an absolute roaring trade.
Yeah, yeah. So the Stephen King thing looks unlikely. The reports of people phoning the front desk and seeing stuff, who knows? Then, in that hotel, there is weirdness that surrounds room 666. If you walk down the corridor of the 6th floor of the hotel, you'll notice there is no room 666. Unlike other hotels, this is not because the room never existed. In fact, if you look carefully, you can see the original frame of the door. However, the entrance to the room has been boarded up and covered in wallpaper.
So it's still there, but...
Yeah, most people will walk straight past it just thinking it was part of a wall.
Now, why did they do that? Is that because of too many, in inverted commas, strange things happening? Or is it a commercial decision where people were like, I don't want to stay in room 666, I won't book it. If you book me in there, I'm going to get upset and have to move me somewhere else?
Well, I'm going to give you two theories I'm going to come on to.
Oh, okay.
One paranormal, one very mundane.
It was the plumbing.
The weird thing about this room is it still has an out-facing window.
I guess you'd have to, because otherwise the outside of the building would look odd.
Yeah,
right?
so window cleaners can take a peek into the room that seemingly, at least from a guest perspective, no longer exists.
When I'm cleaning windows.
Yeah. There are conflicting reports of why room 66 no longer exists. Like I said, some paranormal, some more mundane. Let's start with the paranormal. Reports from guests who stayed in the room detailed them suffering terrible nightmares. Some reported seeing shadow figures. There are reports of guests being attacked by unseen spectres. This was, I've come across this one quite a lot when I was researching this story. Other reports suggest the room was shut off after it was used by devil-worshipping group to perform rituals.
That would also make it...
So I think they booked in and did some... devil-worshipping stuff in there.
Everything all right for you, sir?
Yeah.
The black candles were absolutely great, thank you.
Can I get a bowl for my goat?
And I see you ticked the fresh blood bowl for breakfast.
Yeah. And cornflakes.
Ew.
There's also the classic trope that the room is a portal to another, dimensional
Of course it
realm.
is, yeah,
so they've
yeah.
had to shut it off, so guests don't disappear into another realm. The less paranormal explanation is that during the renovation of the hotel, 2 rooms on the 6th floor were converted into office space or a storeroom. And I guess
see.
you would choose, wouldn't you? Oh, let's get rid of that 666.
It's the one. It's the one you do. Yeah.
And I think this is a bit of a clue of what's going on there. The hotel itself has not commented on this theory, perhaps knowing it might affect their paranormal tourism that does go on there, because it's quite there's a lot of paranormal tours and people staying in rooms there. So it's in their interest, isn't there, to have that kind of spookiness associated with it.
Yeah. I mean, I've stayed in hotels where I have specifically looked for 666 and I've never been in one where there is one. They always seem to just mix it around so that it never exists.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I just assumed that was common practice.
Well, some window cleaners have peered through the window of the former room 666. Do you know what they described it as? There wasn't floating heads or anything.
Dusty?
Said it looked like a storage space. So probably nothing paranormal about room 66. Historian Adam Seltzer is also sceptical of the hotel's haunted reputation. He fact-checked all the reported haunted folklore. He found no evidence that Al Capone ever lived there.
Brilliant.
So I don't know what that ghost is. He believes room 666 never was a room. Seltzer believing the story started as a joke, possibly on a ghost tour, and it's become an urban legend.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know. So there are haunted things going on at that hotel. The idea 666 was a room or not a room, there seems to be a lot of, exaggeration of the haunted nature of that hotel. So who knows what we can believe.
I also quite like the idea that Beelzebub himself is sat there going, right, if that hotel's got 666, we gotta get down there and do some stuff. And they're like, yes, boss, there is a room in there. Brilliant. What should we do? I don't know. Like, should we do a spectral figure and some dark shadows? Yeah, that'll do. Yeah. Oh, they've taken the 666 away. Well, leave it then. Just leave it.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's fine. I was only interested in that number.
That room's now full of small shampoos. Well, I don't want to disturb that.
Yeah, we'll just leave that alone.
Yeah.
It makes very little logical sense. But yeah, good stories.
Well, whether you believe in the power of the number 666, there are many examples of the number being avoided or changed, including an office tower on New York's Fifth Avenue. After the building was refurbished, the address changed from 666 Fifth Avenue to 660. But this decision was driven by the marketing team rather than any reported paranormal activity.
Yeah.
Again, you wouldn't you? It's just like, we don't want to be associated with that. In some states in America, motorists can return a number plate if it contains the number 666.
I bet those are quite valuable, though.
Yeah. Well, the law changed in California after a resident complained about having a number plate with that number of the beast, and he was issued a different license plate, whereas before they used to refuse. You can see why they've done it, can't you?
I can.
US Highway 666, also known as the Devil's Highway, surprisingly enough, was changed to Highway 491.
Oh.
Really interesting fact about this. Reported fatalities on the highway dropped after it was renamed.
No.
Yeah. We have to bear in mind that might be due to improved road safety rather than the number changing.
Could that have anything to do with the introduction of airbags or something?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
It's quite a
that's
nice
good
fact, though.
Yeah, it's a great fact.
Yeah. Former US President Ronald Reagan, when he left office, I don't mean his office, but he stopped being the president.
Night, everybody.
Yeah, moved to 666 St Cloud Road, but Ronald and his wife Nancy had the address changed to 668 St Cloud Road. There's an interesting coincidence if you take the former president's full name, Roland Wilson Reagan. Each name has 6 letters, giving you 666.
666.
And of course, the fictional character possessed by the evil entities in the Exorcist movie was also called Reagan, but it's spelled differently.
Oh, yeah.
Still, as you can imagine, Ben, the conspiracy theories run wild with Reagan and the number 666. Yeah, it's all over the place, you know.
Yeah.
Was he secretly the devil? All that stuff.
I remember being very young when Ronald Reagan was in the news all the time. Largely because of Spitting Image. And because the fine line between fictional characters and people who are president, kind of, it's a very thin line in the mind of like an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
I thought he had chosen that surname to kind of be like a space, like Ray Gun.
Okay, yeah.
Like Ronald Reagan,
Yeah.
you know, who battles intergalactic monsters around the planet Venus. I was very disappointed when I actually saw him. I was like, he hasn't got a silver suit on. He doesn't appear to be battling interdimensional
Well,
warriors.
one of my favourite artists, Gil Scott Heron, who's is kind of a protest poet, kind of R&B jazz guy. He'd always pronounce. He sings about Ronald Reagan a lot, and he always calls him Reagan. He always goes, Reagan. My favourite example, Ben, of 666 relates to air travel and an airline who embraced the number rather than avoiding it.
Oh, I wouldn't like that.
Finnair's flight from Copenhagen was deliberately given the number flight AY666. Any
Well,
idea why, Ben?
Oh, no, I can't think of a good reason.
It was to do with the plane's final destination. Flight AY666, final destination was Helsinki.
Oh, my goodness.
So it was kind of a joke. They thought it was appropriate that the destination of flight A1666 should be somewhere named Helsinki. It was literally the flight to Helsinki.
Wow. That seems... Oh, well, I mean,
So
it makes
Finnish,
perfect
that,
sense.
isn't it?
It is, but it's also... I don't know, there must have been loads of people going, do you think they did that on purpose? And, wow, okay.
Well, the number changed in 2017 when they reorganised their flight numbering system. So it's no longer AY666 to Helsinki, but it was for quite a while.
Very good joke.
I like it. Shall we move on to some stories involving the number 666?
Let's do it.
I'm going to start with this one from Alma the Lab on Reddit. They say, this happened to me on July 2019. My best friend came over. We played some PC games, we played with my dog, and when it started to get dark, we got a little bored, so we just started talking about random things. At one point, an idea came to my mind to call 666 on my phone. I knew nothing was going to happen, and I was right, nothing happened. But then my friend said, what if you call 076 666 6666? In our country, every phone number starts with 07. So I called the number, and it beeped twice. I then hung up. I was very scared and paranoid because I didn't expect it to work. I told my friend, who was a little way away from me, so he couldn't hear the beeping. First he didn't believe me, only when I sounded and said, no, this is serious. He told me that it was probably someone's number and the beeping sound was the call not being able to go through.
Yeah.
I calmed down a bit. I blocked the number because I was very paranoid and we continued to have fun. After he left, I went to take a shower, and upon coming out of the shower, I noticed I had a missed call from that number. I was extremely freaked out. I just blocked that number an hour ago. How in the hell did that person call me? I called my friend and told him about the call, and he kept asking me if I really blocked it. I said I was 100% sure I did. We were both really freaked out, and I barely had any sleep that night, thinking about how that had happened. The next day around noon, I got another call from an unknown number. Thinking it was either the same person or my friend messing with me, I ignored it. A few moments later, I got a text from the cursed number saying, and I quote, "You shouldn't have disturbed me." Chills went down my spine and I started crying. My parents were at work and I was so freaked out I almost passed out. I took a screenshot of the message and sent it to my friend. He couldn't believe it. He came over straight away. Later that day, I got a few more calls from an unknown number, I knew for sure it wasn't my friend this time because he was right next to me when I got called. I didn't want to go to the police because I knew they weren't going to do anything about it. I tried to calm myself down, saying that he's probably just joking and is angry because I called him. I got another message saying, "Wow, you are as scared as I am angry. I hate you little kids, always thinking it's funny calling my number."
Oh, it's just a grumpy old man then.
Yeah, it does take another turn though. He then goes on in his text, "I will cut you open and eat your organs while you watch. It's going to be such fun."
Okay, I mean, that escalated quickly.
It did, didn't it?
I mean, that's a long way from you pesky kids, leave me alone.
Yeah, at this point, the writer says, "I didn't know what to do. My friend called the police and they started looking into it. For the next few days, I was still very scared, but the messages and calls stopped, thankfully, for him. About 9 days after I'd called the number, my mum got a call from the police saying that they'd found the guy who did it. Apparently he was an ex-con, released from prison a few months ago, and I'm not the only person he'd done this to."
Nice guy, 2 horns, pointy tail,
Yeah.
red.
His number was 076 666 6666, and he thought it was funny to prank people because of the number. This bit seems a bit harsh. I mean, okay, it was quite a threat, but he got 6 years in prison, has been permanently banned from the internet.
It should have been 666.
Yeah.
But permanently banned from the internet. How do you do that? You are banned from the internet. Sure, okay then. Enforce that. That's quite also, how do you get a number like that? That's an amazing number to have.
Yeah. And again, I think there are examples of companies who get numbers with 6s in and reject them and get different ones. He finishes off by saying, "How he was able to call my number, it turns out I didn't actually block it. I must have thought I did, but there's no record of his number ever being blocked by me. This was quite a story, and I will carry it with me for the rest of my life."
I mean, I can see how that's quite freaky. But yeah, okay. I like that story a lot. I didn't know it was going to end that way. I thought it was going to be sort of maybe somebody who really did have ill intentions, but he's just messing about. Okay, don't do that to kids, but no harm done, really.
Yeah. We also have this tale from Gary Null. They write, "About 10 years ago, I was in a university seminar English lit class. The professor gave me a topic on superstition in the play by Alfred Bairn. It's an obscure play. I chose to do the imagery of the devil in the play. Weird, but days before I was to do the seminar, I had a dream that I would find many $20 bills. I thought the dream was interesting, but I just went on with my life. I did the seminar for the class. Then the next day I was in my room when something urged me to go to a different seminar in a building nearby, even though I was very late for another lesson. I went, and when I got to the building, there was about 30 posters around with the words, 'Does God exist?' ? There was a debate about to take place in the building with a Christian academic. I thought, okay, I'll go. I had to kill some time, so I thought I would buy something to eat. I bought some apples that had to be weighed at the cashier, some beets and a muffin, and it added up to $6.66. I was a little freaked. After I attended the seminar, I went back to my room and tried to do some research on the number of the beast on the internet, and not being satisfied, I looked in a book in my room I had. I hadn't opened it for over a year. It's titled Harper's Encyclopedia of Mystical and Paranormal Experiences. When I opened the book to see if there was anything written about the number 666, I found several $20 bills, just like in the dream I had had.
Oh, okay, that's quite creepy.
It really freaked then. Then a week later, it got even freakier. I was sleeping at night and I was having a very, very lucid sort of reality dream. Beside my bed in the dark, some entity, which was demonic, was shaking my pencil holder with pencils and pens in it beside my bed. You got off lightly, I think. Then it started to play with my radio by switching the stations randomly around. I could hear the radio and the entity was making, how can I say it, incoherent babbling noises. I was freaked beyond belief. I then instinctively shouted in my room out loud, "I, the power of Jesus Christ, I cast you out." I can't remember the exact words, but it went something like that. After that, I had to sleep with my lights on in my room and for about 7 months afterwards, and have my radio on all night on classical music stations, so it's the only way I would feel safe in my room. The English Lit class that I was studying for was on the Great Fire of London, which occurred in the year 1666.
Yes.
During the class, I asked the significance of the year 1666, and there was a great silence in the class until a girl said, "That's the number of the beast."
That's a good tale.
That is a good tale. Both those stories are good, Ben. But you know what? I kept thinking about a story that we recorded during one of our live shows. I don't know if you remember this, but during the Halloween Hangover, the show we did at the Cross Keys in Thame, in between guests, I was basically walking around the audience, see if anybody had any paranormal experiences they wanted to share. And one of the audience told us this incredible story. Have a listen to this.
This happened probably mid-80s, is rural Ireland, where I'm from. And my aunt and uncle were home visiting, it was during summer holidays. And they went to my grandmother's house, which was about 10 miles from where I was. As I say, it's in the middle of the countryside. They went over for a visit. They had hired a car. And they then went to come back to my parents' house. And it was probably about 10 o'clock-ish when they had left. Very dark night. We call them ink black nights.
Right, I got the picture.
Yeah. Small rural roads. And as they were driving back, independently, my aunt and uncle both saw what they thought were 3 hooded figures on the side of the road. Like up on the ditch, if you like.
Right.
But they didn't say anything to each other. Just shortly after that, about maybe 3 turns down on the road, the car broke down. So they were, now I just point out that the car was, although it was a hire car, it was from a local garage, it was an old Escort and had thousands of miles on it.
Right.
No phones, no nothing. And at this point, they then spoke to one another and went, "Did you see that?" And they tried to reason it away and thought it was maybe 3 cattle that were on the side of them.
Right, that they'd misseen it.
Yeah,
in some
seen
way.
it in the headlights and stuff like that. And you tend to scare yourself as well the more you talk. They were stuck there for probably 2 to 3 hours. Now, back at my parents' house, everybody was getting a bit anxious because they weren't there. They hadn't returned, and my grandmother didn't have a phone, so they couldn't check where they were.
Right.
But as much as the car had broken down, it then started up for no reason as well.
Oh, really?
And they got back to my mum and dad's house around 1 o'clock in the morning. I was a small kid, I was in bed, but I knew there was anxiety in the house because they were missing, effectively.
Right.
Following morning, my dad and my uncle went out to the car to check it over. And I did see this, and all of my siblings saw it as well. I was talking to them just today about it. The odometer had clicked all the way back to 666.
Ooh.
Without any explanation.
Wow.
And to this day, nobody knows why.
Wow, so it got back.
It had gone back. It had thousands of miles on it, and it had clicked all the way
literally
around.
660.
Yeah, so the Bible was brought out. There was a lot of kind
Wow.
of looking up and a bit of anxiety around that appearing.
That's crazy, that story.
That's a
isn't it?
good. I've forgotten that one. Yeah, I mean the devil clocks your car.
Yeah. It's a used car salesman, the devil. I mean, there's not really a logical explanation of why that would happen. I guess it depends how old the hire car was. The clock could have got to the end and then kind of started again, but that would mean they would have had to do at least
666
66
or
miles.
667 miles.
Yeah.
Just before we get too far past, I think it's worth pointing out that the bed on that is the music that was playing whilst we were at an interval.
Yeah.
In our thing, that isn't just a clumsily put on bed.
Yeah.
That was playing there, but because we actually met the
I'll
story.
put my violin down now.
I know, well, Sherlockian, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It makes a lot more sense in dark October than it does in bright July.
Sweaty July.
Sweaty July. Yeah, I went out with her. Just a nickname. The way that she told that story, though, I remember the flash in her eyes of the remembering that, and genuinely looking a little scared.
Yeah.
And the people around her, you heard them gasp. I do think that is... it's an incredible story because there is a manipulation of something solid, a mechanism in our reality. But I do think it was something that was just... I think it was winding her up. I don't think...
trickster spirit.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And I, what I like about that story compared to the one before... okay, the guy bought some apples and some stuff at the supermarket and it came to 666, and then he was studying the Great Fire of London in 1666. All that, strange as it might be, is easily explained away by coincidence.
Yes.
Right? How do you clock a car back to 666 in the middle of nowhere in a small farmhouse in rural Ireland? And
do you get charged when you take it back to the rental agency?
Yeah, can you imagine explaining that? I know, it wasn't me, it was the devil. And it was responsible for that scratch on the side.
I don't think you added an extra driver.
Yeah.
No, Beelzebub not on here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. But there is a thing where, because part of this, I think, is noticing the number. Like if your shopping came to £7.77, you wouldn't notice.
Yeah.
And if the car had flicked back to 555, you wouldn't suddenly go, oh, a Japanese brand of cigarettes is now sponsoring my odometer. So we're primed, if you'll pardon the pun, to look for that number.
Yeah. Well, there are other stories and conspiracy theories, I guess, that connect to the number of the beast with computing and modern technology.
Oh, are there?
There are. To a bit of a spoiler alert, I don't think any of these have much validity, to be honest with you. There's a debunked conspiracy
well,
theory.
good night then.
Yeah. There's a debunked conspiracy theory that did the rounds when supermarket barcodes were introduced in the 70s.
Yeah.
Now, some people noticed that the three, I think it's called the guard patterns, so the short group of bars at the beginning, middle, and the end of every barcode, they look similar to the pattern used to encode the digit 6. Now, this led to the claim that every barcode secretly contains 666, and some linked it to the number of the beast in the Book of Revelations. In reality, the guard patterns they're called special control markers that help barcode scanners determine where the code starts, ends, and splits. They are not read as a number. They're not the number 6. So it's not some secret code with 666 in it.
Do you know, I still to this day believed that there was some sort of reason why 666 was in every barcode. I'm very glad that you've disabused me of that. That's interesting.
Well, a similar theory circulated at the start of the internet with the letters www in internet addresses, that they represented 666. I think because they look like symbols that relate to the number. I think in Hebrew, that's off the top of my head. But yes, similar thing, not true.
And there is kind of 6 little dips on the W's. But I mean, gosh, that's a reach.
Yeah, there is. There was also in the late 90s, 666 was linked with the Y2K virus causing chaos at the end of the millennium. So that had some connection with 666 as well. I mean, there are many more. They're either completely spurious or people looking for patterns, right? I mean, even some software companies do avoid using 6.66 in their software, but then others include it as a deliberate joke. So, there's nothing in that. I came across an article by author Jan Harold Brunvand, who writes on urban legends. Now, Jan talks about the response he got after writing about 666 and some of the stuff that I've just mentioned in computing. So he was debunking this, basically. He was inundated with messages from people after they read the article. I'm just going to read it. He writes, shortly after I started writing this column, this is his online column, in 1987, I mentioned the cryptic mark of the beast, 666, found in the biblical book of Revelations. I was writing about computer folklore, and I showed how this ancient mystery had become attached to a modern device. Biblical scholars had pondered the apocalyptic images in Revelations for centuries without agreeing on their symbolism. Yet many were convinced that the computers clearly anticipated the last days and were actually employing biblical symbols. For example, the European Economic Community's largest computer was supposedly nicknamed the Beast, and it was said to be programmed so that eventually it would have a list of everyone on Earth. Right?
What?
Just because it was called the Beast. You can see why it was called the Beast. It was probably a big computer, right?
Yeah.
My big car we call the Beast. It's nothing demonic, apart from when the air conditioning's not working. Access codes, he goes on, access codes required by some computers were said to require entering a series of 18 numbers, and 18 is the sum of 6 plus 6 plus 6. Another claim was that the Swedish government had implanted microchips containing 3 sets of numbers having 6 digits, each under some citizen's skin, so they'd put it. These could be read by electronic scanners and be entered into computer databanks. He says, I closed my column by saying that I once had a computer glitch that caused random lines of 6 to appear on my screen, but that I hadn't feared that the devil was lurking behind the problem. He says, boy, did I hear from readers. Most warned me not to treat this matter so lightly. They said we must learn to read the signs, for the end of the world was surely coming. People sent me elaborate proof, all totaling 666, to show that the Antichrist was really the Pope or Adolf Hitler. Others wrote saying that John F. Kennedy and Henry Kissinger were actually 2 beasts who would soon be revealed in their true shapes through the number. Several paid my attention to the 6 letters in each name of President Ronald Wilson Reagan, which seemed proof enough for them that the former president was the Antichrist. He says, out of curiosity, I made a quick check of my current class list and turned up another 666 name. It's an English literary anthology I found poet Walter Savage Landor. He says, this is very funny, he wrote pretty benign verses, but he did have a sinister-sounding middle name and his letters added up to 666, which I think proves the point. He said, a couple of readers sent me copies of Mary Stuart Ralph's book, paperback, When Your Money Fails. The 666 system is here. The weird tract is crammed with examples of 666 on payroll checks, credit cards, product labels, serial numbers, and almost anywhere else you look. He says, my favourite passage was her interpretation of one of the Apollo moon landings. Wait for this, Ben. Apollo has 6 letters. Each astronaut's names on the mission also had 6. So this is not even the first mission. The moon trip lasted 6 days. The spacecraft had 6 sections, and the moon's gravity is 1/6 that of Earth's. So, yeah, that was the demonic connection. Ralph's own candidate, for the beast was Anwar Sadat. She said that in 1975, when Sadat reopened the Suez Canal to commercial navigation, he conducted the ceremonies on the deck of an Egyptian destroyer named October 6, which had the number 666 stenciled on its bow. My mail on the subject eventually dwindled, he says, but it picked up again in 1988 when I wrote a column about Procter & Gamble. I laughed at the notion that 2 666 adorned the famous P&G logo, showing the man in the moon and a starry sky. Supposedly the stars are clustered in the shape of 3 sixes, and the curls in the man's beard form another set of 6s if you view the design in a mirror. The ensuing round of letters informed me that P&G was truly infiltrated by the devil, whether I believed it or not, and that 666 was still showing up in a whole range of places, everywhere from stylised eagle designs used by some US government agencies to the universal product code bar symbols. This is a very funny way he has it. He said, at the risk of starting another flood of crazy mails, I'll say again that I view this 666 hysteria as paranoia abated by oral tradition. In other words, I think it's just scary folklore. And it doesn't scare me one little bit that the word count I pulled on the first draft of this column came to 666.
Brilliant.
I thought that was a great article. It kind of sums up what we've been talking about today, does it not?
It does. It's number pareidolia, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, having researched all of this, I just think I have to set aside that listener story we recorded at our live show.
Yeah.
That's a real head scratcher for me.
Yes, it is.
Because I talked to that person and, you know, she told us about the strange hooded figures and the car going back to 666. When I talked to them, I didn't believe they were making it up or exaggerating what happened. So, in a way, that's a classic tale for our podcast. You kind of go, well, that is a bit weird, right? And that's the kind of story we love. Outside of that, I was struck by how the phenomena is really based on people's fear of the number rather than any power the number itself possesses, in my view.
Yes.
You kind of made this point earlier, and I was thinking this, and I did do a Google on this as well. If you research paranormal stories around the number 312, you will come up with little or nothing.
Yeah.
That's not that there aren't any connections. It's just no one writes about them, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Yes, yes.
It doesn't mean that, oh my God, there must be this thing. So this all seems to me about the psychology of the number rather than anything else. But I just, the bit that I got pulled into that, though, I did sense that feeling of doom or at least unease when I was writing and researching the episode, especially when I typed the number 666. I felt a little weird doing it. And it was made worse because in the UK this week, it's been absolutely boiling. I was sweltering while I was working on this episode during the heat wave. The only thing that made it slightly bearable was my trusty old fan, Ben, which I've had for many years. Suddenly, just after typing the number 666, my fan broke down. It's refused to start since.
Really?
Yeah. No, I'm not saying that's paranormal. It's an old fan. I'm not saying it's the work of the devil.
That is funny, though.
It did freak me out of it, yeah. It certainly did make my office feel hot as hell.
Yeah. I wonder whether that is an example of, like, perhaps your emotions just tipping that thing over, that kind of curiosity of typing 666. Like, I remember getting really, so this is I'm going the right direction. Bear with me. About 3 dishwashers ago, we had a dishwasher that was like nearly on its way out. And one day I got really angry with it. I didn't touch it. I was just like, this is ridiculous. This thing, it cost me so much money. It's only a couple of years old. I can't believe it keeps going wrong because it hadn't quite cleaned the cups properly. It never worked again after that. And I always think, I wonder whether it was just my
Rejected it.
Yeah, my furious rage at it for like not giving me much money's worth. And just as it came out of warranty, it decided it was going to die.
It's always the day after.
And nobody else was in the house apart from my dog, who kind of disappeared into the garden. I just had this had a bad day, rage, and then it never worked again. And I wonder whether there is a thing there that actually happens that we can affect the electronics around us.
Yeah,
like that.
well, that's a possibility. Or just, it was a boiling hot day. The fan had been on for hours. And it was an old fan, right? But it shows the power of it psychologically rather than necessarily there's anything with it. Well, in the extra scoop, I'm going to talk about another perspective on the number 666 and other numbers called angel numbers. So we're going to explore that in the extra scoop. So that's Ben and Peter's extra scoop, Patreon exclusive episode. Go to patreon.com/TQM pod or hit the link in the show notes if it's there.
Lovely. Well, you say angel numbers. Ever since you said it, now because the place is covered in bees, I can't stop thinking about bee maidens.
Oh, you've been obsessed with bee maidens.
I'm obsessed with bee maidens. Yeah.
They do look pretty cool, though.
They do. So I'm looking forward to learning what angel numbers are.
Cool.
Marvellous. All right. Well, thank you very much. I don't know what I'm doing next week because I've been working on what we're going to be doing at the Strange Days Festival, but I shall be turning my neck thus towards next week, and I will see you there with something interesting. And thank you for this week. I have learnt a lot.
Cool. All right. We'll see you soon.
Take care. Goodbye.
Bye.
Are you the quantum mechanics?